the average basic salary drawn in the last 12 months prior to retirement. Now, at the same time, employees who have worked for at least 10 years will also be entitled to a monthly pension of 10,000 rupees. After the death of the pensioner, employees 60% of his or her pension will be given to the family members. The scheme will benefit about 23 lakh employees of the central government, and if the state government employees are to be also included, then there will be about 90 lakh beneficiaries of UPS. But what about private sector employees? There are about 5 crore people employed by private companies in the country, in India in particular. What are their options? How can they get a minimum guaranteed pension? And is there a case for UPS to be extended to private players? We're discussing all of that. Joining us on the show is Renu Maheshwari, co-founder FinScholars Wealth Managers. With me is my colleague Krishna Kumar. Before I go to Renu, Krishna, this is an important conversation. You and I are private employees, so I think all of us tomorrow want to be assured of what really happens to us. We don't have any guarantee of any pension. Whatever we contribute comes by the way of either a PF contribution or an NPS contribution, which is voluntary on our part.
Right.
So what happens to our job security and safety after our retirements?
Well, that's the big question for this entire, last 2-3 generations of working people, especially with the moving away of government jobs, the preference or the obsession with government jobs, which used to exist about 4 decades ago, 5 decades ago, to now literally overwhelming majority of the jobs in the country belong to the private sector. And this is a question that affects the overwhelming majority of the workforce here in India. And it's interesting that we are discussing the UPS as a possible, solution to all our, post-retirement financial fears. And we're having the conversation simply because of the fact that, overall, it has been largely agreed upon that the UPS is an improvement on the NPS.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily disrupt the NPS, but it just improves upon it. The indexation benefit and the fact that they give out these lump sum payments, all of these are extremely attractive features for all of us trying to look for a good financial instrument to put our money in. I mean, we have our doubts on, should I take that lump sum money, put it in a mutual fund? Do I put it in a fixed deposit because they are back in fashion, or do I put it in gold? For the long run, for our nest egg, so to speak. So the UPS, the fact that it's calling out to the private sector itself is extremely interesting, Shweta.
All right, Krishna, thank you very much for setting the ball rolling as far as our conversation on whether UPS should be extended to private players or not. But Renu Maheshwari also joining us on the show. Renu, good to have you back. The last time you and I were discussing, we were in fact talking about how the government seemed to have moved away from fixed pension to fixed contribution, while the UPS is it's more comprehensive. Come to think of it, it has the benefits of the UPS, NPS, and has the benefits of the OPS when it comes to fixed pension. But there is also now it stands to believe that states may not adopt it. Is there any clarity that you have right now whether states are going to adopt it? So are we looking at therefore a bigger number of people who would come by the way of beneficiaries from 23 lakh to 90 lakh employees?
What I have read, I do not have any other information except that Maharashtra state is the only one which has adopted it as yet. I personally don't have any information whether they will do it or not. See, all those government decisions are decided so much not purely by objective financials, but by so many other factors beyond my pay grade. So I'm not going to do a double guess on that who is going to do it and who is not going to do it.
In which case, we know that there is, of course, a political division, of course, when it comes to pension on whether a state is ruled by the BJP or not ruled by the BJP right now. I want to directly jump into the conversation that we're having, and that is, what about private players? Now, I've been doing my reading, and I'm sure a lot of other people who are either going to retire at some point in time or haven't really got a government job at all also wonder, what about our job safety? What about our security, especially after we have retired? What are the current existing schemes that private employees have that they can, go for apart from EPS and I believe some contribution to the tune of about 14%, which is tax-free, allowed under NPS? Is there an option for government employees to obviously have UPS, but is there an option for private players to also perhaps have NPS and any other scheme that is available to them? Can UPS be extended to them?
See, UPS getting extended to private sector, I have my doubts on it. The UPS is being subsidized by the government, right? So they are contributing 18.5%. If the private sector starts doing it, so it'll still be part of your CTC. So that means 28.5% of your salary is going for your retirement benefits. Then your take home goes down. Would the private sector be able to attract employees with that kind of a take home? That's a question mark. A lot of private players subscribe to the minimal EPF and not even the statutory EPF. So I think that is a big question mark. If we come to the question of how the private sector can ensure a secure retirement, the good news is that the market is growing. As per my calculations, NPS will still make better money than UPS, and your retirement might be better off in NPS provided you do a right asset allocation. So asset allocation becomes the most important thing, even in retirement, in the statutory retirement benefits. What should the private sector employees do? Start saving for your retirement the day you start earning for it. Right from day one. So you fill up your EPF, your Employees Provident Fund. If your company offers NPS, grab it, take it, don't leave that and thinking that, and don't keep comparing its performance with mutual funds. That's a wrong comparison. NPS with a good asset allocation will make much, much more than any other retirement scheme. Make sure you invest in equity for a long term. And that the only way to be able to secure your retirement, I'm reiterating these numbers which I've been talking about for a while now. You're going to be working for 25 years, maximum 30 years, and you have to live off that money for next 30 years.
Okay.
With inflation.
All right. And so let's say a company does not really offer provision for NPS. Then what are the chances, apart from EPF, that a private person like me, who is in a private job, should go for? What can we do to secure our future?
Yeah, so even if your company doesn't give you NPS, open your own NPS account. And start contributing to that. And that will come under your ATC benefit, just like any other EPF and any other investment. Even if your EPF and other things are taking care of your 1.5 lakh of ATC, whatever you invest in NPS, it's still coming to you tax-free. Okay. Only 40% of that money goes into annuity, 60% of the corpus is still tax-free, and it still makes sense. So if you're in private sector, use NPS. Even if your company is not giving it, you can make additional investment in that. And for a smaller amount, 50,000 still gives you additional tax benefit under Section 80 CCDB 1B. So take care of, take advantage of that and invest regularly in equity. Don't want to make it complicated. Just put it in index fund and it will give you better retirement. But maintaining discipline is the most important thing. What is happening with all of these retirement schemes is, being a statutory fund, it just gets deducted from your salary and you never consider it part of your income. And then your expenses and everything is all planned around that. And that gives you a good corpus when you retire.
All right.
And of course, there are tax benefits.
I have a lot of questions from you. I only have a couple of minutes, Renu. You said something very interesting. You said that if UPS were to be extended to private employees, their take-home salary will decrease and they may not like it very much because, when it comes to financial planning and when it comes to savings for future and your current income is decreased, you don't find any value in it, at least in the interim. You may find value in it once you retire. But my question is it going to be also therefore a big burden on the government exchequer? Because right now with 23 lakh employees, government will have to shell out about 6,500 crore rupees. And if this were to be extended to 5 crore employees, that bill will multiply into thousands of crores. Is that even possible? Can India ever look at a UPS-like scheme to be extended to private employees?
If ever it is extended to private employees, it will have to be funded by the private sector. It cannot be funded by the government. See, if you look at it in the past, there were few companies who were giving defined benefits to their employees at retirement. not happening anymore in any of the corporate bodies. Can the government do it? I doubt. They cannot afford to do it, is my answer to it. If it has to be extended, it has to be extended by the private sector.
All right. Interestingly, Krishna, of course, if it has to be extended, the burden will have to be borne by the private sector. That's the last word coming in as far as what are the options for private employees like you and me as far as our safety of our future is concerned. Renu Maheshwari, thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us, for all your inputs on that story.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
And with that, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back in just a bit.
Not quite lived up to their pre-tournament billing, delivering a series of less than convincing performances. For 2 draws and a solitary win.
Your son will be Messi. No studies, just football all day. Go, my son, go. Make my face shine through playing football.
Not only your face, but also the country's. I will conquer the world by playing football. Come, let's go to Germany!
World's largest football talent hunt, News 9 Indian Tigers and Tigresses. In association with DFB Pokal, Bundesliga, BBB and India Football Center. Train and play matches in Europe. Register now and fly to Germany. IndianTigersandTigresses.com.
This is News 9 Live, India's only digital exclusive live stream. For the early adopters, bringing you the news 24/7. For the smart audiences on the smartest TVs. News 9 Live. Stream now on your smart TVs.
It's said that out of 7 diamonds across the world, 5 are cut and polished in India.
Don't forget, US is the largest consumer of polished diamonds and the diamond jewelry, and that has taken a big beating for multiple reasons, but largely because of the consumer spending going down on these items, and that's essentially what has hit the diamond industry.
We are at a brim where you see not just one but multiple very strong global brands coming out of India, and we will make a global mark, and I'm convinced about that.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Welcome back. You're watching In Your Interest. I'm Shweta Kothari. Vistara is all set to end services in November as the merger with Air India has got the final nod. Vistara will be merged with Air India on 12th of November. The airline has operated, remember, over 5 lakh flights from its inception up until July. It will add another 30,000 flights by the time it retires in November this year. Now, Vistara's merger into Air India is a strategic consolidation within the Tata Group's aviation portfolio. Vistara, originally established as a joint venture between the Tata Group and the Singapore Airlines, will now be integrated with Air India, another Tata-owned carrier. Starting 3rd of September 2024, which is tomorrow, customers will progressively no longer be able to make bookings with Vistara for travel on or after 12th of November 2024. All Vistara aircraft thereafter will be operated by Air India and bookings will be redirected to Air India's website. Until 11th of November 2024, Vistara will maintain its normal operations. Passengers can continue to book and fly with Vistara as usual during this period. But what happens to the brand Vistara thereafter? That's a big question we're asking. Joining us on the show will be Lloyd Matthias. With me is Krishna Kumar. Krishna, a lot of Vistara brand lovers would be really waiting to know what really happens to their favorite airline. And come to think of it, very few limited options right now for those who who are looking for an airline that does not fail them, is on time, and the services are great, Vistara being one of them. What really happens to Vistara?
What really happens right now is the term premium economy that's under threat. So you have Air India Express, which is like the more economy version of Air India. If it is possible, then
no frills, low cost.
Yeah. Yeah, ultra low frills, ultra low cost, if I may, is Air India Express. And then if they can have an Air India that's premium economy Air India, then they should ideally. But right now, lots of fears floating around because that's what people grew it to love about Vistara. It was a budget airline at the end of the day. They're not exactly the most expensive tickets around. But then for a little bit of premium experience over there, the fact that you have an option called premium economy apart from business class, which are obnoxiously priced, the fear is that, why are we letting go of that? Why isn't Air India?
Absolutely.
Because right now all we know is that we can't book Vistara flights anymore. So that is not happening. The brand Vistara might go away, but that premium economy experience, if Air India chooses to create a segmentation in its completely consolidated empire of airlines that it has right now, if it chooses to have that, then there will be definitely a lot of offtake. A lot of people would be enjoying and wanting to book Air India flights for that.
Absolutely. Let's quickly get in our guest, Lloyd Matthias, who's an angel investor and brand strategist. Lloyd, I think I'm going to take that question once again to you. What really happens to brand Vistara? A lot of us who've grown to love this brand since its inception for its premium quality. Are we looking at, therefore, a dissemination of premium economy, or are we looking at two brands, maybe the brand name notwithstanding, but two offerings by Air India, one being low cost, low frill, but the other being, of course, what Vistara used to offer, which is some sort of premiumness?
Thanks, Shweta. I think, what's unfortunately happened is with the Air India acquisition, clearly the Vistara brand has got submerged or subsumed. I would assume that Air India would possibly use brand Vistara in some format to connote their premium service. If a lot of us flyers remember, ever since Kingfisher and then for Jet disappeared, India never really had a premium offering. Right? Air India has been there, but Indigo has been an all-economy, low-cost career. Though of course they have plans to kind of look at a more kind of semi-premium segment. I think the equity that Vistara built in its 8 odd years, I think it's something that Air India still has an opportunity to encash on. Whether they call some of their business class services, some of their lounges, they kind of retain some part of that equity is how they would use. But I don't think that there is a certain brand regard that Vistara has rightfully earned as a specialized premium service in Indian aviation, which frankly no one owned in this last 1 decade. And I therefore hope fervently that Air India would use brand Vistara in some of their offering, with nothing else to at least serve as a differentiator. While Air India is still the mother brand and the airline name, I think creating a separate offering within the Vistara umbrella would possibly help, and something that they should seriously consider.
Okay, so are we looking at Vistara as a name, the color palette, everything going away? I mean, I know starting, November this year, we will not be able to book Vistara flight from a Vistara website, and we'll have to be redirected to Air India website. But are we looking at a complete dissemination of Vistara, the name, Vistara, the brand? And if that's the case, what really happens to loyal customers?
I think what's very clear with the announcement is that Vistara as an entity disappears. So there's no corporation Vistara, there's no loyalty program. Everything gets subsumed in Air India. What I'm hoping for is that, considering the brand still has sizable residual equity, if Vistara can remain a brand subsumed within Air India, there are a lot of their premium services, be it business class, be it premium lounges, be it some of the special features they offer. If they rename their platinum frequent flyer program or Vistara, that might still kind of help keep that memory alive. And since it already has a natural amount of premiumness, it kind of helps, create a kind of brand segmentation, which is not uncommon for large corporations to have various offerings. Let's look at the country's largest consumer goods brand, Hindustan Unilever. I mean, they have super premium categories, Pear, Scout, and then they have mass categories like Lifebuoy and so on and so forth. I think segregation within a mother brand is a very valid strategy.
Right.
And I do believe that while Vistara per se disappears as a corporation entity, I think using the residual effect of the brand is something that could be seriously considered.
Okay, and let's quickly run our viewers through some of the permutations, combinations when it comes to that segregation. As Krishna was pointing out, it does look like Air India Express could be that no-frills, low-cost airline that continues to operate domestically. Perhaps Air India as a brand with its wide-body aircraft could continue to operate internationally. And in comes Vistara, which is in the sweet spot, just in between premium offering and serving domestic passengers. Does that look like the right sort of strategy for you? Or is there other ways of looking at it? What are the permutation combinations that can work here?
Was that for Krishna, Shweta?
Yes, Lloyd?
That's for you, Lloyd.
I thought that...
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I would think, like I said, Air India Express still remains the mass offering. Air India is obviously the mother brand and spans the entire spectrum. I was thinking of Vistara being like a niche offering for the premium end of the aviation market. So a lot of specialized services within the Air India umbrella would be with Vistara, where the premiumness is the key call-out, where you're talking to, let's say, a slightly more reward customer who's expecting individualized and world-class service. I think that's where Vistara could go.
All right. So as we were saying, that is exactly where Vistara may fit in. But Lloyd, before I let you go, I know you touched on the loyalty program, and we know that Air India and Vistara both have their own set loyalty programs. So what happens to those loyalty programs? Are we looking at them combining as well?
Yes, Shweta. In fact, a couple of months back, Vistara announced that you have an opportunity to link your Vistara account with Air India's frequent flyer programs, and therefore all your points can get freely transferred. You could use the points across. I suspect this really means that effectively soon frequent flyer Air India's flying returns will be the mother program, and all the Vistara points will straight away get into the Air India frequent flyer. I don't think the Vistara loyalty program as such will exist beyond November 12th.
Okay, so you'll have the Club Vistara and perhaps Air India's loyalty program, which is the flying returns program, coexisting, or you could have the Air India's flying return program, which will combine Club Vistara. Perhaps those are, of course, all guesses right now, and there's just this good few months to go before that merger comes through. But starting tomorrow up until November, 3rd of November to be particular, is when you'll be able to fly Vistara, post which you will be flying Air India, come what may. Lloyd Matthias, thank you very much for taking time out. Thank you for joining us on this show. As I was saying, it does look like brand Vistara may not continue post 11th of November. Until 11th of November, Vistara will maintain its normal operations. Passengers can continue to book and fly with Vistara as usual during the transition period. But starting tomorrow, each passenger will only be able to book a flight up until 12th of November, and after 12th of November, all Vistara aircraft and flights will have to be booked through Air India, and that looks like an end of an era as far as Vistara is concerned. And with that, we have run out of time on this show. Thank you very much for watching.
Give it to me, pass. We'll put new glasses in the windows and they keep breaking it. This is the 4th time. You are playing football throughout the day. Will you win the world by playing football?
Yes, uncle. I will now conquer the world by playing football. Let's go to Germany.
World's largest football talent hunt, News 9 Indian Tigers and Tigresses. In association with DFB Pokal, Bundesliga, BVB and India Football Center. Train and play matches in Europe. Register now and fly to Germany. IndianTigersandTigresses.com.
This was the kind of terrain that mountaineers basically climb on. You're talking of peaks of 15,000 and 16,000 feet. You have trouble breathing, the cold, the high altitude, the dizziness, the enemy staring at your face. And in some of those cases, the Pakistanis were not even expending ammunition. They were throwing rocks at the Indian soldiers. That's how close it was.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
The average lifespan of Indians is reducing. You and I are losing at least 3 years of our life just by breathing in polluted air. This is an observation made in the Air Quality Life Index report. So how is pollution reducing life expectancy of Indians? News 9 Plus decodes. The Air Quality Life Index report is published by University of Chicago's Energy Policy Institute. It analyzes how air pollution affects human life expectancy. The latest report has found that Indians may lose about 3.6 years of their life if India does not meet the World Health Organization's annual PM 2.5 standard. The WHO standard is 5 micrograms per cubic meter. In 2022,